Jason Crone here.
Dave
Four.
Knopfler here.
District 5, Jacob is expected. At-large Rich.
Rich Blankish at large.
At-large Tara.
Tara Osnorf here.
And representing the county, Joe Persky. Hello, here. Let's recite the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, so for the planning commission members, we're going to change the order of our agenda a little bit. What we typically do is we go through the review of the item, who visited the site, the staff does their report, we do the applicants. What we're going to do is we're going to move the public hearing before the commission questions. So that way we hear the full testimony before we have our discussion and comments. So that way everyone gets a fair and equal chance to express themselves, and we can have a full discussion with all the facts after the public hearing. All right, so agenda item number 1, Rod and Lois Gertgen, are you here? If you want to pull up here. So what we're going to do is we're going to hear from the staff. For the folks in attendance here, we're going to hear from the staff. They're going to give a report. The applicant's going to respond. Then we're going to open the public hearing. If you do have comments, please come up to the podium, state your name and address. There's a microphone there. Make sure the green light on the microphone is on so we can hear your testimony. As you're giving testimony, please speak to the commission. So we'll respond to you, and if we have questions for the applicant, we will ask them of the applicant. So let's get started. Agenda item number 1, to consider a plat entitled Buffalo Ridge Estates, 3rd edition, consisting of 9 residential lots in the residential R1 zoning district. The plat was submitted by A+ Custom Homes Incorporated of Cold Spring, Minnesota, according to Stearns County Subdivision Ordinance number 230 and Land Use and Zoning Ordinance number 439. The 10.68 acre plat is lots 1 and 2, block 1, Buffalo Ridge Estates, 2nd edition, in section 14, lying between east of County Road 23, Munson Township. Members who attended, I did last month. Dave?
No.
Jason?
Yes.
Dave Nafla?
No.
David Bentrud?
Are you talking about a site visit?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Rich?
Yes, I did.
Tara?
No.
Joe?
Yes.
Okay. Staff report. Heidi?
Okay, so this is a proposed 9-lot plat, 9 residential lots, just lying east of County Road 23 in Munson Township. The property is zoned residential 1, and the lots meet the minimum lot size requirements. Septic sites have been shown for each lot. There's adequate room to build on each and meet setbacks. There are no wetlands within the property, so delineation was not completed. Feedlot setbacks are met to all the new lots. The access to the property will be from County Road 23. They'll be building a new road, 66-foot dedicated public road to access the 9 lots from County Road 23. They will be putting in a temporary turnaround easement on the north end, and then eventually that road could continue to the north in the future if further development happens. They've submitted a stormwater management plan, and that's in the process of being reviewed. There will be an infiltration basin on lots 1, 2, and 3. This will account for a maximum of 10,000 square foot of impervious surface per lot. Properties not within the shoreland overlay district or any areas of concern. There'll be a park dedication fee of $1,000 per lot. Munson Township did review and approve the preliminary plat. They will make sure the road is built to township standards and take over maintenance of the road, and likely take over maintenance of the stormwater facilities too. Drainage and utility easements are shown along the road and along the lot lines. This is within a transitional area in the county's future land use map and the comprehensive plan. Plating committee did review this plat already, and the following conditions are proposed. One, a declaration of restriction for protecting the 2 septic sites on each lot. They shall remain undisturbed and natural. Subdivision agreement stating the following: construction site best management practices are required. Stake and rope off the septic site locations during ground disturbing activity. Construction of the road and stormwater facilities is subject to a development agreement between the county, township, and developer. The plat of Buffalo Ridge Estates is located in an ag area, and the construction, expansion, operation of animal feedlots and other ag uses are permitted. Maximum of 10,000 square foot of impervious surface is allowed on lots 1, 2, 3, and 4, block 1, and lots 2, 3, and 4, block 2. And then due to lot size, lot 1, block 2 is allowed a maximum of 8,276 square feet of impervious surface, and lot 5, block 2 is allowed a maximum of 9,909 square feet of impervious. In the event the property is annexed into the city of Richmond, owners may want to consider placing the home in a strategic location with the possibility of the parcel being further subdivided. If a home is not within a strategic position and the property is annexed into the city of Richmond, an owner may be subject to significantly higher assessments for water and wastewater utilities and street improvements. A 3-part development agreement is required with the county, township, and developer addressing the road and stormwater construction and maintenance. Water supply verification for nitrates is required. A highway certificate will be recorded with the final plat. In the event the township does not take over the maintenance and long-term maintenance of the stormwater facilities, then a homeowners association will be required. Septic sites shall be shown on the stormwater plan to ensure there isn't an overlap with the stormwater facilities. Drainage and utility easements are required around the stormwater basin, swales, and for access to the facilities. Financial guarantee for 125% of the site grading and erosion and sediment controls to ensure installation of the stormwater management plan is required. Temporary turnaround easement is required. They need to vacate the drainage and utility easement that was dedicated on Buffalo Ridge Estates 2nd edition prior to final plat approval. Munson Township will have to do that. Vacate the driveway easement prior to final plat approval. An approved stormwater management plan and septic site locations are required, and this $7,000 parkland dedication fee is required. That's all that I have.
All right, thank you, Thank you, Ivy. Applicants, state your name and address, please.
Rod Gherkin, 21903 Lois Lane, Cold Spring.
Lois Gherkin, 21903 Lois Lane, Cold Spring.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add to the staff report?
No, just that we did do a water test on that first property there, and it came back with good nitrates on that. So we have done the water test out there too. So
Okay. Any comments from the public? Feel free to take the podium, please.
All right. Dear Planning Commission, I'm Jim Hemish. I'm the mayor of Richmond. I would ask that you would indulge me, and I have 3 different little items I want to talk to you, and I'm going to try to keep this short, so I know you guys have a busy night. So first of all, I'm going to start off, I'm the chairman of the League of Minnesota Cities, which is all the cities in Stearns County. We had our meeting this past Tuesday night, and I brought this very development up as an example to find out that Painesville's going through something similar to this, Kimball's going through something similar to this, St. Augusta's going through something like this, that cities are getting proposed developments around its edges, and they're finding out like the week before it comes here to the Planning Commission, and it gets really hard for the cities to have a chance to do their homework and then come and present something to you when it's a very short window. So I just want you to consider that this isn't a unique situation. This is happening all over in the county for all your different areas, especially in the rural of Minnesota or rural Stearns County where, things don't, I understand we don't get along with our townships around us, but there's others that have weird agreements that really hamper how they do business. Okay, so I'm going to stop with the municipal part now. I give you guys a map. If you look at the map that I supplied for you, if they could put it on the screen, is there a chance or not?
We're working on it, but in the meantime, why don't you all look at what you have, and then the applicants have one, and we'll try to get it on the screen soon.
Do we
So
want to have this for passing around if folks want it?
So the map you have in front of you, Yep.
Angie, can we bring up the map that we have, the picture, the photo?
So the map that I provided you tonight this is a snapshot of the whole project. Yes, he's only asking to do the stuff in the middle, but if you look on the bottom of the map where you see 7th Street, the city did its planning years ago. There's actually water pipes in there, and if you look on where it says Cedar Avenue, where it says lift station, that lift station was put there in the early 90s in anticipating of going north. With this development, literally, it's going to cut us off from doing any more development to the north as far as having city services. And I feel that's important because when I read the letter that I did send you a letter stating my issues, but I have one letter I'm going to read. I just wanted to point this out the city did its homework. It's got fire hydrants everywhere it needs to be. It has water supplies everywhere. It has a sewer line there ready to go in anticipation of this project happening. Okay? That's the only reason I showed you the map, because sometimes when I make reference to my letter, you'll see what I mean when I say about there's going to be 20 septics and 20 sewer lines in that, or septic systems and wells in that 20 some odd that are going to be there. Yes, not all of them are Rod's project here, but with the other homes that are already there, they're all there already. Okay, I'm going to get off my picture now. I have a letter for you, so I'm going to read it and try to stay on my point and be done. I don't have a crystal ball, but history has taught us something. In the early 1980s, houses were built on the south side of Richmond with wells and drain fields because it was cheaper to build them. In 2008, failing septics and high nitrates in wells forced the residents to come to the city and ask for services. In doing so, this brought a large price tag to all the new owners of those homes. This cost was around $30,000 per home. And my question to you is, where was the developer at that time? They developed the houses the first time and got by cheap, and then all of a sudden, all these owners have to update and go to new wells and go to city services. So Buffalo Ridge Developer borders the city's boundaries within 150 feet of a treated water supply and a sewer system that treats the septic. And that's about 300 feet away from the property. By allowing this development, city would be cut off from going to the north for any future development of his property or anybody else that would be to the north. And the city has always been a groundwater. We always look at protecting our groundwater. So literally everything there by putting septics there is going to eventually filter back to where our wells are. Like I mentioned earlier, there'll be 20 wells, 20 septics, all in that 20-acre piece of property. I know it's a little bigger than 20, but just using that as a reason. And what is it, long term, how does that affect our residents by having that well there and the septics? As a mayor of Richmond, I've always said that I want to leave Richmond in a better place than when I started. So obviously that's been responsible growth. This would be growth to the city, protecting our city's drinking water, providing services to the residents that you can be proud of, and always looking not to make the same mistakes that our past people in the area have done. So I ask you tonight to take a close look into your own crystal ball and see if there's a future for Richmond. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members from the public? Please come. Please state your name and address.
Tim Paskowski of Richmond. I also have reviewed the plot and the information from the environmental services, and I have a few concerns that they're listed in there. One was the soil suitability of the locations, the septic locations on lot 1 and 2 that need to be relocated out of the proposed infiltration basin and the potential of out of the swells. They got there towards the back there. So, but then right below it, you had the Soil Conservation District, the properties that are very highly sensitive to groundwater pollution. And it's also outside the drinking water of Richmond, which we talked about in there. And then the comprehensive plan, which is listed on page 4, I kind of look, and then it's been addressed a little bit, but it also, like I said, this is the future areas where we could see change in the next 20 years. It's happening now, not the 20 years. And the development is going north. We can't go west, we got the river. We can't go south, we have the river, the lakes. And the east, we boarded up right now against Cold Spring. We have no place to go. There's no place. And then plus on the north side already, there's the solar farm there. And that's leased now for, they'll be probably there for another 15, 20 years. That area is the only way that the Richmond can ever grow. And again, and then on page 5, of course, on the bottom of comments on F, it also even talks about the future of property of being annexed into the city of Richmond. And there again, let's think about the cost that it's going to happen to these homeowners down the road. They put a septic, they put a water, they do all this now, and it fails, which there's some water issues north of there. I know some realtors that are saying that's the problem why someone don't want to build back there, don't want to buy back there. There's some water issues. I don't want to see that, where they have that problem and then eventually have to get back in the city, which we've shown, you know, down in the south side, where they've had to spend $30,000 come back to get into the city after a few years having septic and sewer down there. And just to kind of touch bases like what Jim had said, you know, we have the fire hydrants already there. The lift station is already there because we knew the planning was going to come. We already have some water hookups already on that north side that were put in then. And like I said, some of the realtors told me there's a reason why they're not getting the growth there. They're going to the places where they can get water and sewer. It eventually will be that'll be more value to the homeowners at the end, being into the city and having the city's services available to them. So I just don't like to see the burden eventually down the road onto those future homeowners that are in there. And then, of course, we got our fire department. We're 4 minutes away. We're there. We're establishment. We're there. And that's a big key for a lot of people. We're right there. And we have all the sewer system. We got the fire hydrants. We got everything right there ready to go. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Other members from the public wishing to please come forward to the podium. Please state your name and address before testimony.
My name is Jerry Rugemer. I'm 23507 County Road 23, Richmond, Minnesota. We own the agricultural property right next to his development. And as far as I was concerned, it was not told to me that it would go to the city of Richmond. As far as his development goes, it's fine. But now all of a sudden the city of Richmond gets involved in this. And another question I got about that now, what happened to the leapfrog law? Munson Township's between the city of Richmond and my agricultural property. Now, isn't that a buffer there that doesn't, or does it just throw that away like everything else? And then there's quite a few other things. Like, how many homes are they gonna, I know that lift station there, and it almost failed the first time they didn't come this way. No, I don't know if they built a new super huge one or something, or did you? I don't know. And as far as fire hydrants are, they in the city of Richmond owns the property they're on, not Munson Township. And it's just ridiculous. It's, you know, that's all I got to say about it. It's, you know, it's such a short notice, you can't get, you know, I'm not for it at all. So, okay. I have concerns too. Another concern I have is what about these people that have Munson Township homes there already?
A quick question. You're not for what? What are you not for?
I'm not for the city of Richmond taking over the Munson Township development. Thank you. And what about these people that already live in Munson Township there? They got 2.5 acre lots. Now all of a sudden they're just gonna split their lot up or get taxed right out of their property? You know, that's how that works, right? I know I'm gonna get taxed out of my agricultural land, because the last time this happened, it went up almost $2 million to assessment. No, that's ridiculous. In that case, if they want to develop and if they want future development in that area, they better have a big billfold, and it's millions of dollars, not thousands. So as far as the future development goes, my kids, my grandkids, and myself, it'll never happen. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else from the public? Yes. Again, name and address, please.
Steve Schreifels, 23495 Dutch Avenue, Richmond. I own the lot on the northeast side of the development here, Buffalo Ridge. And I would like to leave it the way it is and stay in the township. And my question is, if this proposed development, is my property gonna get annexed into the city of Richmond if this development does? And that's all I have to say is just, I'd rather stay with the township. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just want to make sure it's clear that this is not a hearing regarding any kind of annexation. This is just a hearing regarding this 9-lot plat, so no action on any annexation is happening.
Thank you. Other input from the public? Yes. Name and address, please.
Gerard Bush Kirkin, Munson Township, 20704, 243rd Street. I'm actually also a Munson Township supervisor. I'm just here on Rod's behalf. I know he would like to keep this addition in the township, I believe. Okay, and I'm just saying now they're stating that there's water issues and people don't want to build north of town. Well, the addition that's just north of here is full but one lot. 41 out of the 42 homes have homes on with water and sewers. And for them to say, yes, it is that direction, the only direction the city could possibly go in time. But they also have 40 acres east of town that's already in the city limits that they haven't looked at or touched. So they have a direction they can go. My concern is for the township is we need expansion in our township also with these homes. We need tax revenue. People want to live in the country. If they want to live in town, they'll buy lots in town. I just want to protect the people that do want to live to the country and have a chance to live in the country to be able to come out here and live. I mean, it's kind of the purpose of moving out of town, so. Basically, like I said, I don't know what realtors they've been talking to, but the 42 homes, there's 41 out of 42 are sold and developed. So that we have no more further development in the township just north of that. So, I'm just here on behalf of the township people around there that would like to see it stay in a township for now, and in time to come, we don't know what the future holds. But it's just, I'm here tonight just to kind of give Rod support for this addition, and we are in favor of it, so I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other new testimony from the public? Other new testimony? Last call, other new testimony? Staff correspondence.
Yep, so I have a few letters. The first one was sent to you guys yesterday. You have copies of all of them. From the city of Richmond, which the mayor spoke, just reiterating that they've got water and sewer close to the property. It'll be expensive to hook up services in the future. Concerned with nitrate levels. Then also a letter from the city's engineer, Dave Blummel. He had concerns of the additional homes and the impact to the city's park system and the fact that they don't get a park dedication fee from these lots to use to help maintain the city parks that these lots will be using. And then also concerned with additional pedestrian traffic out in this area. There's safety concerns that may necessitate future improvements for pedestrian safety. And then one letter I got just this afternoon. Again, it's about being opposed to being annexed to the city of Richmond does not have an issue with this development. They don't want to be annexed, and that was from Paul and Andrea Schmitz.
Okay, thank you. Mr. and Ms. Gerken, any responses to what you've heard from the public comment?
Just that this development that I'm putting together, I'm a home builder also besides just developing land. And the people that I talk to want wells and septics, and a 1 acre lot, 5 acre lot would be nice too, but this development will be a 1 acre lot, and people like the wells and the septics, and nothing against the city of Richmond. It's just that that's what the people that are coming to me asking for. There is a development to the east that is city sewer and water, and or to the west, I'm sorry. And they have that option over on that west side. This would be, I think it would be a great development for Munson Township to earn revenue, also to build homes, and I did build a lot of homes north of Richmond in the West Ashton development, and like Butch was saying, the wells and septics out there, none of the septics have failed. The wells are all running adequately for the home. I guess I don't know much, I mean, and it's in the right area for the township, so to add. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Hearing all the public testimony, I'd entertain a motion to close.
I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Jason so moved, second.
I'll second that.
Rich second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed. Public hearing closes. Comments from the commission? Questions?
I have a question for staff. On the proposed, or the suggested conditions, as recommended by the plating committee, can you just explain a little bit more on the condition 2F? I don't think I'm completely understanding what that is trying to do.
So I think part of the reason for that condition or notice, which is also in the previous plat, Buffalo Ridge Estates Plat 1, also has this language in it. Basically just putting the new owners on notice that you are close to the city. There is a potential you could be annexed at some point. And if they, potentially could subdivide their parcel further in the future if they set it up for that, put your home on one side versus the other, not just right in the middle, plan for that potentially in the future. It's more of just a notice to them that that's something that could happen down the road.
Other questions?
Maybe to build on that, Tara, I kind of had the same question, but I guess as part of the condition, is that then something that would be put into like the packet of information that purchasers are buying then? Is that what that condition's getting at? Is that would
Yeah.
be communicated with them?
Yep,
Okay.
it'll be the subdivision agreement's a document that gets recorded
Okay.
against the property. So if they do a title search when they purchase the property, all that will show
All
up.
that language would be in there. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for clarifying.
Mr. Chair, I had a
Yes,
couple questions.
Mr. Persky.
I got a couple questions. First of all, Angie, this is not related specifically to this plat, but $1,000 per acre on the parkland dedication, is that something we changed relatively recent? Wasn't it much, was it less earlier, or has it always been at 1,000?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Persky, I believe when it's been a major plat, so 3 lots or more, it jumps to that $1,000 per lot. So if it's just 1 or 2 lots, it's $250.
Okay.
But once we hit 3 lots, then it jumps up to $1,000 per lot.
Yeah, and I thought we were at the 250, and I was just surprised, and I would have thought I would have remembered the change, so thank you for clarifying that. And then I got a question, Rod, you're putting this township development abutting the county, or excuse me, abutting the city. And, you know, you're saying that, you know, there's that desire for people to have that country experience. Are there other places that did you look at outside? I mean, the township has considerable amount of land. Did you look at other places other than this to actually start developments?
Yeah, I am developing a piece in town right now too.
Okay.
Right on the river. So that is in town, but this is out of town. If you look at 7th Street, right there,
Yep.
everybody to the north of 7th Street are all wells and septics also.
Yeah, I see that, but I see how they've got their homes placed is with an annexation. I can see that they're strategically placed so that they would be able to make city lots out of that. So, I mean, I'm looking kind of into the crystal ball, into the future as far as what's perhaps going to happen 20 to 50 years down the road. And then what basically we'd be doing is we'd be closing that development to the north with township lots, of course, with the sewer and septic. And just my experience, I've seen we've had issues in Leesock Township relating to Sartell of abutting properties like this. And so I was just curious, you know, again, as a developer, not taking advantage of the city services, is that really not an option that works well to actually make these cities lots?
I don't know, maybe it's just because it's a rural area that we're in that people, the couples just really want the wells and the septics. They want their, you know, and as far as, I mean, the septic systems we're putting in nowadays are well better than what they used to be, and they're lasting a long time. And to my knowledge, you have to inspect your septic systems on a new septic system, relatively like 5 years, is it? 3 years? Unless I mean, especially if you're gonna sell the place.
Correct.
So everything's getting inspected, and the wells, are getting tested, you know, so you live in the city of Sartell, I would imagine that these wells, the water that you're drinking out of here is probably gonna taste better than the city of Sartell's water, you know? So I think that's what people are kinda going for, you know, just the country, having their own well and their own septic, living independently that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions from the commission? Other questions? Yes.
I have a couple, maybe I should have asked the mayor when he was up. Is there an agreement between Munson Township and the city of Richmond for fire service? There's a fire in the homes in this area, who responds?
Right now on the north side of 7th Street, the last couple calls that have been to the city.
Mr. Chair, we do need, if you would like to allow the mayor to talk, you can do that, but we do need him to come to the podium because otherwise the audio won't pick him up.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, so for this particular specific question.
So obviously for most of you to know that the city of Richmond only covers the city of Richmond and the chain of lakes covers the township of Munson. So on 7th Street, because it's all done by GPS, we've had multiple calls on the people that live there that when they've had a medical call, it's gone to the city because literally they can't tell the difference if it's on the right side or the west side of the road or the north side of the road, whichever. So we've been having the calls of the 4 houses that are there, most of the times have gotten called from the city of Richmond, even if they're in the township. But the same thing happens from the chain. They also they do some of our calls as well because of just how technology works, so.
And I understand this hearing here is not about annexation. And I understand you do not have an annexation agreement in place, but have there been any conversations with Munson Township about annexing this
No.
portion? Okay, thank you.
We literally found out last week that this was moving forward to tonight, so.
Okay.
That's our notice was literally 10 days, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Mayor, I got a question for you. as far as response time on the fire departments, do you have a handle on the city response opposed to the township response?
All I can speak for is the city's response, and right now it's 4 minutes. I can't speak on the chain of lakes because I don't know. So.
Other questions?
Mr. Chair, question for staff. Is there anything that would prevent annexation of this plat after approval?
Not at the county level, there wouldn't be.
Yeah, so, okay, and then I'll turn it into a comment. So I'm a local, I've lived in Rockville, Cold Spring, Richmond, and Wakefield Township now in my life, so I'm well familiar with the area. We're not, there's always like a little bit of headbutting that happens between, for whatever reason. Love my people, but there's a lot of headbutting that goes on. We're not gonna solve it with this plat review. That's just something that's gonna have to work out over time. So I guess my comment is, I look at this based on what we have as a county in approving a plat, and it's pretty straightforward. When it gets to the complication of the city and annexation, that is a complicated topic that we're not going to be able to influence based on whether or not we approve a plat or not.
Other comments, questions from the commission members? Other questions? Hearing none, we'll move to findings of fact. Is the proposal consistent with the subdivision and zoning ordinances? If so, why? If not, why not?
Mr. Chair, I believe it is consistent with land use and zoning ordinance number 439, section 9.9, subdivision ordinance number 230, sections 5 and 8.
Thank you. Does the proposal conform to the comprehensive plan of the county? Please list applicable sections.
Mr. Chair, I am not sure that it does. I'm trying to find it here. Living goals, item number 1, collaborate with cities and townships to maintain sustainable growth patterns that align with the comprehensive plan. I understand the desire that individuals have to remain rural, maybe township, but given the proximity to the city of Richmond, I guess I wish that there maybe had been some more dialogue between the city and the township over this development. It seems like an appropriate place for one, but, and I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what the impact is gonna be of having a, you know, these 1 acre parcels so close to the city limits. Maybe that could be resolved. Might force an annexation down the road, we don't know. And I understand what Jason's saying about this being, you know, a platting decision, but I am concerned about the proximity of this project to the city and the lack of dialogue between the two.
Thanks, Dave. Other?
Yeah, I appreciate Dave's comments because they're accurate. You could also argue it the other way around. The location of it is exactly logical based on transitional area policies number 2. Evaluate development proposals in transitional areas, which this is, using the comprehensive plan's future land use factors. What we're talking about is what the future looks like, and it's going to require the city and townships to work together to figure that out, regardless of this plat. This, if anything, helps to escalate that conversation which needs to happen. If we don't approve this plat, I would tell you nothing's going to happen until the next plat comes up for a proposal. That's my crystal ball.
Thank you for the dialogue. Number 3, is the proposal compatible with the existing neighborhood? Why or why not?
Mr. Chair, I'd say that the proposal is consistent with the existing neighborhood. There's already a number of lots developed in Munson Township joining.
Thank you, Tara. Number 4, how has the applicant demonstrated that standards or criterion stated in the ordinance will be satisfied?
I understand there was one lot that was tested for, there are 9 of them there. You know, we don't know what the nitrate levels are gonna be in the other lots. We don't know what the well capacity is gonna be like in all of those lots, and again, the impact of the city. So a little bit of, it's probably gonna be okay, but we don't really know definitively.
Thank you, Dave. Other issues pertinent to this matter. So we did receive township input and city input. Other issues that the commission members would like to identify.
I think we hit the nail on the head.
All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we recommend approval of the plat with the recommended conditions. And I want to, there was three conditions with multiple sub-conditions underneath those.
Mr. Chair, I'll second.
Motion by Jason, second by Dave. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign.
Nay.
Opposed? Nay.
Roll call.
I'll say the names if you want to write them down. Member Bentrude,
No.
Member Crone,
Yep, I was the yay.
Member Wienerman,
Not voting.
Member Knopfler,
Yes.
Member Blankish,
No.
and Member Ossendorf.
Yes.
3 to 2, Mr. Chair. 3 to approve and 2 to,
Through the line.
3 to 2, yes.
So 3 to 2, motion passes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And this will go before the county board June 3rd?
This will go to county board at a later date once
Oh.
they fulfill the conditions here,
Okay.
so to
So
be
work with staff.
determined on that.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you everybody for your attention to that one. Agenda item number 2, to consider a request for a conditional use permit submitted by Gregory Agribusiness LLC of Kimball, Minnesota, according to the requirements of section 4.4, 4.6, 4.8, 4.14.6.8, and 9.2 of Stearns County Land Use and Zoning Ordinance number 439 to expand their feedlot facility by modifying current total confinement barns with proposed additions, adding 2 additions onto an existing total confinement barn, and increase their milking herd from 770 animal units to 973 animal units of mature dairy cattle over 1,000 pounds. The property under consideration is located at 18384 121st Avenue of Kimball, Minnesota, 55353, in the northeast corner of the southwest corner and the northwest corner of the southeast corner of Township 122 North, Range 29 West, Section 8 of Main Prairie Township. Just for information, I have worked with the applicant as a Soil and Water Conservation District member. So professionally, we have a relationship through that. However, I don't foresee any conflict of interest in terms of that. So, having said that, members who visited the site. I did. David Bentrude.
I did.
Jason Crone.
Yes.
Dave Neffla.
No.
Rich Blankish.
Yes, I did.
Tara Ostendorf.
Yes, I did.
And Joe Persky.
Yes, I did.
Staff report. Bethy Jo.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, so as you stated, it's located in Main Prairie Township. They are requesting to add some total confinement barns and some additions and to construct a manure holding area or transfer system, and then to establish that animal unit maximum for the site at 973. The agricultural pillars and goals and policies are listed in your staff report. some additional relevant information for this site is that the feedlot was originally registered with Stearns County since October of 1999 for 718 animal units. It has remained registered and meets all state and county registration requirements to date. The site has a historic maximum AU established from a 2015 CUP request that was requesting at that time to expand their milking herd to 600 head of mature dairy cows over 1,000 pounds, which are milked and dry, for 840 animal units. That 2015 CUP listed 2 conditions, and those were outlined in your staff report. 1, shall follow Minnesota Rules Chapter 7020 and Stearns County Ordinance 439 or any successor rules. 2, the applicant shall construct all proposed improvements according to plan specifications and guidelines submitted within that application unless otherwise approved by ESD. The site itself is currently registered for 770 animal units, which was in 2024, consisting of 550 head of mature dairy cattle over 1,000 pounds milked or dry. The joint county-state feedlot permit application was received by ESD on April 17th, 2025. The proposed animal unit for the site is 973, which would consist of 695 head of mature dairy cattle over 1,000 pounds milked or dry. On April 15th, 2025, a manure management plan was submitted. This plan is required, which reflects information for the site's manure generation, handling, and nutrient content of the manure that is generated from the site. This is under staff review at this time and will be required to meet criteria of Minnesota Rule 7020 prior to any feedlot permit issuance. Staff conducted a compliance inspection on March 31st of this year. We determined the facility was compliant for water quality discharge requirements and the conditions outlined in the 2015 CUP and manure testing. The owners were non-compliant for record-keeping requirements for 3 fields until we received further direction from the MPCA, which is the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, on nitrogen requirements for fields that are double cropped. A perimeter fence surrounding the outdoor circular manure storage basin, which you can see on the image up on the screen, which is number 3, was found to just need maintenance and repair to have a 5-foot functional perimeter fence around that. So our inspection follow-up letter did require the owner and applicant to maintain and repair that, and our deadline that we have in the follow-up letter that was sent was August 1st of 2025. Once the repair and maintenance is complete and verified by staff, the site will return to compliance for that item. The current facility has existing total confinement barns, manure storage structures, and feed storage all displayed on that map. The applicants are proposing to modify 2 total confinement barns that will be wider than the previous ones. So those are labeled number 1 and number 2. So those are outlined in blue because they are modifying in size. So those will be used for milk cows, special needs cows, and breeding cattle, which that will be the 2 additions onto number 2. So that's the 2 number 9s. The applicants are proposing a piston pump housed in a concrete in-ground bunker inside East Barn Addition number 9 to transfer manure to other manure handling and storage areas on site from the above listed barn number 2 and number 9. There are no valid complaints on file for this feedlot. The surrounding adjoining properties in Stearns County are zoned A80. Also shown on your map, there are 68 residences and 7 existing registered feedlots located within 1 mile of this feedlot. So you'll see that all encircled in that orange dotted buffer. Then the next map, included with your packet, shows the nearest properties. And the nearest residence to the property is located approximately 699 feet to the west. This residence is owned by one of the Gregory Agribusiness LLC owners. The 2 other closest homes are also owned by owners of Gregory Agribusiness LLC. Access will still be via 121 Avenue to the feedlot, and an EAW, which is an environmental assessment worksheet, an environmental impact statement, EIS, state disposal system, SDS, or feedlot national pollution discharge elimination system, which is known as the NPDS. Permits are not required for this facility at this time. The findings of facts are also listed in your packet. Staff recommends 2 conditions with this request. Is number 1, the owner shall construct all proposed improvements according to plans, specifications, and guidelines submitted with the application, unless otherwise approved by the Environmental Service Department. Number 2, the owner shall contact the Environmental Services Department within 3 days of construction completion so that we can do a post-construction inspection. And also listed in your packet is the Feedlot Review Committee draft minutes from the May 5th meeting regarding this item, and the notifications that were sent out as well at the end of your packet. And that is all I have at this time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Applicants, name and address, please.
We want to start. Edward Gregory, 18793 121st Avenue, Kimball, Minnesota.
Tom Gregory, 18373 121st Avenue, south of Kimball, Minnesota.
Abby Cones, 12204 180th Street, Kimball, Minnesota.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add to the staff report?
Well, the purpose behind the barn number 2, adding on to that, is we built the barns in '97, and they're in need of repair, and they're full of cattle, and we need a place to house the cattle while we're repairing, and so that's going to be the first purpose of expanding barn number 2, and after that, as Becky Jo alluded to, we plan to use it for breeding facilities for special needs. Right now, everything just gets jammed up, and the cows are, it's very difficult to administer, health problems and stuff, to take care of them the way it's set up now, but this will make it much easier, and some of the cattle, like they said, we're gonna increase some numbers. We have dry cows on another farm, hopefully we can bring them home, so we have a little less labor intense. And I've been with crop consultants since '94, and so we always had a manure management plan, and Stearns SWCD did a complete manure management plan the years that we built the pit 7 and the stacking slab 8. So I have that. Anybody else have something there?
Okay. Open the public hearing. Questions, comments from the public? Second time, question, comments from the public. Third time, question, comments from the public. Bethany Jo, any written feedback?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, no, I have not gotten any written public testimony in regards to this.
Okay. I entertain a motion to close.
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing. Comment.
Rich moves. Second.
I'll second.
Dave seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing closed. Comments, questions from the committee member? Chairman's privilege. What is a special needs cow?
Special needs is cattle that need veterinary attention,
okay,
or hoof trimming, or something. Hoof trimming is something that's done there every 2 weeks, and it takes pretty much all day. And so we have a spot where we do it, but this will make it much easier.
Great.
And also the animals, we have access to feed and water the whole time. So right now they're being held. So
okay, thank you. Never heard the term before. Other commission questions, comments? Looks good. Commission member questions, comments? Hearing none, I move to the findings of fact. Is the proposal consistent with the Stearns County zoning ordinance number 439? Please specify all performance standards that apply.
Mr. Chair, it is consistent with zoning ordinance 439 sections 4.8, 4.14, 6.8.3, letter E, and 9.2.
Thank you, Rich. Is there an environmental assessment worksheet, EIS, NPDES, SDS, or other permit required? I believe the state report indicated there was none. So moving on, number 3, does the proposal conform to the goals and objectives of the county comprehensive land use plan? Please specify the appropriate sections.
Mr. Chair, I believe it hits almost all of the agricultural goals with the exception of a couple, but we'll just stick with one, supporting agriculture as a desirable land use for the long term and facilitate diversification of the county's agricultural economy. And I'm also going to throw in retain areas with highly valued agricultural land or economically viable animal agricultural operations. So this applies very well to that.
Thank you, Jason. Number 4, will the site configuration, number, and type of animals at this site and prevailing wind conditions impact any of the following areas, including traffic, public safety, schools, park, churches, and other municipal or residential areas, or other impacts? If there are, please specify.
Mr. Chair, I believe that there will be no impacts on traffic, public safety, schools, parks, churches, or other municipal residential areas, and any other impacts.
Thanks, Dave. Has information been provided regarding the impact of property values in the area as a result of the proposal?
None provided. Mr. Chair, there was nothing provided regarding property values.
Thank you, Jason. Number 6, have all recommendations from the Feedlot Review Committee and Feedlot staff been reviewed? Yes.
Yes.
We have a good board, so. Other issues pertinent to this matter, if there are, please specify.
Mr. Chair, throughout this operation has been around for quite a while, and to the my understanding of folks in the area, they've always been good neighbors and ran a good operation. So I think that's pertinent to this matter.
Thanks, Jason. All right.
Mr. Chair, also they've served for breakfast on the farm, so they've had a good number of people out to their place, so that they know what the operation looks like, and it's a pretty good show.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve.
Dave moves in favor. Second.
I will second that motion.
Rich seconds. All approved. All in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. This will come before the county board on June 3rd. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Wow, that was some dead air. You folks were
Covered well.
All right, agenda item number 3. We have Jeffrey and Leisha Schwinghammer. If you would approach the applicant table. So for agenda item number 3, we are considering a request for conditional use permits submitted by Jeffrey and Lisa Schwinghammer.
Correct.
Trust agreement of Albany, Minnesota, according to the requirements of section 4.4, 4.6, 4.8, 4.14, 6.8, and 9.3 of Stearns County Land Use and Zoning Ordinance number 439 to expand their feedlot facility by modifying a current open lot and construct a replacement partial confinement barn and remain at 761 total animal units consisting of mature dairy cattle over 1,000 pounds, dairy heifers, and dairy calves. The property under consideration is located at 32998 County Road 41 of Albany, Minnesota, 56307, in the northwest quarter of the southeast corner of Township 125 North, Range 31 West, Section 34 of Albany Township. Folks who visited, I did. David Bentrude.
Yes, I did.
Jason Crone.
Yes.
Dave Nafla.
No.
Rich Blankish.
Yes, I did.
Tara.
Yes, it did.
Joe Persky.
I did not.
Okay. Staff report.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, so as you had mentioned, this is in Albany Township. They're looking to construct a replacement partial confinement barn, which is labeled number 15 on the map that's included with your packet. This will replace the 30-foot by 60-foot partial confinement barn that is currently there, which is number 4, outlined there in red. And then to modify an existing open lot area to 35,140 square feet from 34,527 square feet which is the total outline of number 16. So as with the last application in your staff report, the agricultural goals, policies are listed in your packet. Some additional relevant information regarding this site is this site was originally registered on August 23rd, 2000 with Stearns County for 341 animal units. It has remained registered and meets all state and county registration requirements to date. There is an existing 2012 CUP on file for this facility. That CUP proposed 3 total confinement buildings and 2 liquid manure storage areas, along with establishing a 762.6 animal unit max of dairy. That 2012 CUP had 3 conditions listed in it, as outlined in your packet. Number 1 was maintaining records of land application of manure as required by Minnesota rules and Stearns County ordinance. The owner shall maintain the MMP for the farm as required by Minnesota rules and Stearns County ordinance was number 2. Number 3 is the applicant shall construct all proposed improvements listed in the feedlot permit according to plans, specs, guidelines submitted with the application unless otherwise approved by ESD or MPCA. Staff conducted a compliance inspection on April 1st, 2025. The site was determined compliant for water quality discharge requirements and then also compliant for the conditions that were outlined in the 2012 CUP. There were 2 noted areas of non-compliance for the facility, which was over-application of nitrogen on 2 out of the 22 fields that were reviewed for manure application. And the second one was a perimeter fence surrounding the smaller outdoor manure storage basin, which is number 13 on that map. It was just found to need maintenance and repair to be a 5-foot high functional perimeter fence around that basin. The inspection follow-up letter that was sent to the owner requires submittal of manure records for this cropping year by December 1st, 2024. If over application is not found upon ESD review of those records, the site will return to compliance for this item at that time. The inspection follow-up letter again requires the owner to maintain and repair that 5-foot perimeter functional fence around that smaller outdoor storage basin. We too gave them till August 1st of 2025 to address that. Once the repair and maintenance is complete and verified by staff, the site will return to compliance for that item then at that time as well. On April 7th of 2025, a manure management plan was submitted. This plan is required, which reflects the information for the site's manure generation, handling, and nutrient content of the manure that is generated on site. Again, this MMP is under review by staff and will be required to meet the criteria of Minnesota State Rule 7020 requirements before any permits will be issued. The joint county and state feedlot permit application was received on April 11th, 2025. The current facility has existing total confinement barns, partial confinement barns, 3 manure storage structures or areas, open lots, a pump house, a bedding shed, and feed storage, which is all viewable there on the enclosed map. The applicants are proposing to replace that partial confinement barn on site, number 4. The proposed replacement partial confinement barn will be a 50 by 104 located in that same area. A partial confinement barn, 50 by 100 in this location, was one of the 3 feedlot structures that were proposed with the 2015 issued feedlot permit. 2 out of the 3 were able to be constructed during that time frame of that permit. So basically they're asking for something very similar, other than this new proposal is 4 feet long versus what they were asking for in 2015. The feedlot permit application submitted is requesting 761 animal units for the feedlot, which then consists of 410 head of dairy cattle over 1,000 pounds milked or dry, 210 head of dairy heifers, and 200 head of dairy calves. There are no valid complaints on file for this feedlot. The surrounding adjoining properties in Stearns County are zoned A40. The municipality, Albany, is approximately 5,189 feet to the north, which is just a hair under 1 mile from the parcel boundary. There are 31 residences and 4 existing registered feedlots located within 1 mile of this feedlot, also shown on the map on the screen and included in your packet. The nearest residence to the property is located 1,244 feet to the west of the feedlot, and that's also included in that map, and then you can see the additional 2 closest homes shown on that map as well on the screen and in your packet. Access to this feedlot is via County Road 41. And an environmental assessment worksheet, EAW, environmental impact statement, EIS, state disposal system, which is the SDS, or feedlot national pollution discharge elimination system, which is known as the NPDS. Permits are not required for this facility at this time. The findings of facts there are listed in your packet as well, along with the 2 staff recommendations for conditions, which are the owner shall construct all proposed improvements according to plans, specifications, and guidelines submitted with the application unless otherwise approved by the Environmental Service Department. The second one, the owner shall contact the Environmental Services Department within 3 days of construction completion so a post-construction inspection may be completed. The Feedlot Review Committee draft minutes from the May 5th meeting regarding this item is included in your packet as well, along with the notifications at the end of your packet that were sent out regarding this request as well. And that's all I have at this time, Mr. Chair and members of the board.
Becky, just a quick note before you transition. I did see the applicant on site. He said hi and pointed to the site, so that was our communication. All right, so applicant introductions. State your name and address, please.
Jeffrey Schringhammer, 32998 County Road 41, Albany.
Lisa Schwinghammer, 32998 County Road 41, Albany 56307.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add to the staff report?
Not as of this time.
Okay. Open the public hearing. Anyone from the public here to speak? One person, please come forward. Again, name and address.
I'll keep this short. James Hemish, 18974, 18974 230th Street, Richmond. I'm the chairman of the League of Minnesota Cities, so we represent the cities. I brought it to the 2 young ladies over here that their requests, like anything that's being built towards near a city like Albany, they literally got their notice at the beginning of the month, and their meeting was last night. So they really don't have, they don't have nothing wrong with this particular one, but their concern and the people from Kimball's concern is when there is a project being within a certain distance of a city, there has to be a better way of noticing, because we don't always catch everything in the paper or where it has to be posted. And sometimes, like in Albany's case, they got to review this last night at their meeting, and really to turn around and come tonight would be really short if there was something that was concerning. So I brought this up to them earlier, that this was one of the concerns that I also sit on the feedlot review committee, so I kind of know a little. I went through both of these things, so just letting you know that they're cities don't all meet like every week. So like we meet twice a month, and if this happens like the day after you meet, well, you don't meet again for 2 or 3 weeks. Well, sometimes some of these processes can go through without any review. So thank you.
Thank you. Other comments from the public? Second, other comments from the public? Third, any correspondence?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, we have no written correspondence to read into record regarding this request.
Thank you. Hearing no further comments from the public, I entertain a motion to close.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we close the public hearing.
Jason moves. Any second?
I will second that, Mr. Chair.
Rich seconds. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing closed. Comments from the commission members?
Quick question, Mr. Chair, just for staff, based on the public testimony here, is there something that maybe we do want to look at from a communication standpoint? It seems like cities might be missing out on some of that, and maybe this goes to the the county commissioners, just to make a slight modification as far as how we notice some of that stuff. But it's come up twice. I'm not sure if it's a major concern or not, but maybe worth digging into.
Mr. Chair, we can take note of it. The application deadline is a month prior to the meeting, and so then we need enough time to prepare the notices and send those out. And as was stated, those notices did go out at the beginning of the month.
Yeah, okay. And a follow-up question to that, does anything go directly to cities?
Mr. Chair, Member Crone, yes, the city was notified. I think it's even listed in the packet. But yes, this City of Albany was directly sent a letter regarding this application.
Perfect. Thank you.
Other comments from the commission?
No.
Other comments? All right, findings of fact. Is the proposal consistent with the Stearns County zoning ordinance number 439? Please specify all performance standards that apply.
Mr. Chair, it is consistent with zoning ordinance 439, sections 4.14, 6.8.3, letter E, and 9.3.
Perfect, thank you. Is there an EAW, EIS, NPDES, SDS, or other permit required for the facility?
Mr. Chair, none is required.
Thank you. Does the proposal conform to the goals and objectives of the county comprehensive land use plan? Please specify the appropriate sections.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to cite my previous, application. It hits most of the agricultural goals, but I'm going to just highlight 3: retain areas with highly valued agricultural land or economically viable animal agriculture operations.
All right, thank you. Will the site configuration, number, and type of animals at this site, prevailing wind conditions impact any of the following areas? Traffic, public safety, schools, parks, churches, and other municipal or residential areas, or other areas of impact?
Mr. Chair, I do not believe there'll be any impact to those listed.
Thank you, Dave. Has information been provided regarding the impact of property values in the area as a result of the proposal?
Mr. Chair, nothing has been provided.
Have all recommendations from the Feedlot Review Committee and Feedlot staff been reviewed?
Yes.
Yes. Thanks, Tara. Other issues pertinent to this matter, please specify. All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve the conditional use permit as submitted.
Mr. Chair, if I can just ask for clarification if that motion does include the 2 recommended conditions or not.
Oh, my bad. Yes, I should have mentioned that. Those conditions should be included.
Dave moves approval with the 2 conditions. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chair, I would second that with the 2 recommendations.
Rich did a great job.
Thanks, Rich. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. This will come before the county board on June 3rd, so thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Agenda item number 4, another discussion item. On April 29th, Angie and I had the opportunity of attending the Making Solid Land Use Decisions. It was put on by Squires Waldsberger and Mace, public attorneys. You have copies of this in it came with your files. And there were some really fascinating and interesting nuggets for consideration from the training. So Angie and I felt it would be useful and important to bring this before our committee as an effort of continuous improvement. So Angie's going to take the lead on this, I hope. Surprise. And we'll work in tandem as we work through this to highlight important nuggets and some ways we're thinking about modifying what we did. So for example, you saw today, we kind of reorganized the agenda to allow us to have full content before we make our discussion. So that was one of the findings that came from this.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Angie Berg, Environmental Services, and I've been told the Timberwolves are playing tonight, so I'm supposed to talk really fast. Certainly not going to read this whole thing, right, because that would bore you all, but Jason and I, we go to these trainings every couple years, and I don't know, this one just really was good in terms of reminding on the record and findings and procedures and all the things. So I wanted you all to have a printed packet, so I would take time and read through that. But we'll just kind of go through a few highlights on, and as we go, if you have questions, or Jason, jump in if there was a particular note. So the foundation for all of zoning comes from Minnesota Statute 394. And Minnesota is a Dillon state, and so we only are given the powers given to counties by the state legislature. So in 1958 was the first time Minnesota Statute 394 was adopted. And so that basically gives counties, cities, and townships, 394 gives counties the authority to zone and to have land use and subdivision regulations. So that's the basis. Obviously, as you know, because you're on our planning commission, we're going to be doing this with Board of Adjustment too, but the county adopted countywide zoning in 2000. Before that, it was just shoreland. So we now have residential, industrial, agricultural, all the districts. You hear those rezoning requests as an ordinance amendment, and then they ultimately go to the county commissioners for either approval or denial. So we have zoning districts, we have performance standards. Those are all the things that you do in terms of, like, say, a CUP application. You look at parking and signage and setbacks and all the things. So those are the standards. And then in each zoning district, as you know as well, we have different uses that are permitted, provisional, interim, conditional. And the thing that you may not know is the way the Stearns County ordinance is written is if a use isn't listed in your zoning ordinance, it's prohibited. So some other counties do it differently, and that opens up a big can of worms to what you could see come in front of you. You know, if you say, well, anything else is a CUP, well, then you're going to see everything else, right? And you won't have the opportunity to really hone in on what that new use might be. So that's something to note. Other official controls that the county has, a lot of times we look at those as overlay districts. So that's your shoreline, your floodplain, your airport. You don't see a lot of that one. We have some conservation design overlay. That doesn't come up a whole lot either, but those are kind of your other. Bless you. So in terms of, I'm flipping to page 4 right now. So Jason, if you want to grab anything, you got to let me know.
Okay.
Look at Roman numeral number 2A1. This is for variances, but it's good to note because there's often people will talk about you're setting a precedent, or if we do this now, we have to do this in the future. That's not the case with land use regulation. Similarly situated in time and place, the courts have said that even a short span of 2 months is enough time to say you're no longer similarly situated in time. So don't let that trick you into approving or not approving something you might have or might not have done in the past. That doesn't hone you into the future.
So 2 examples of that have occurred during my time. When I came on the board, and Rich, you might remember this, we were having a transitional period in which the board was changing our perspective on retaining walls. So we had folks and contractors coming in who were like, oh, the planning commission will just approve this. And we were suddenly like, we're not just approving these blanket. So evolving conditions and perspectives are an acceptable reason to wander off. And also, we had the discussion on solar farms around, it was added to our comp plan, the comprehensive plan. So when we have those things, those are reasons that we can deviate from previous standards with a justifiable cause.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, Angie, I've gone through the document, and I do have a number of questions, and this is the one I was concerned about too, as far as establishing precedents, and then also making sure we treat people fairly in similar situations. So I'm just thinking, again, the retaining walls would be one example too. When you permit one at one location and then you don't permit one at the other, do we have to make a rationale why we're denying and how that wouldn't be? Same would be on a shoreline as far as removal of vegetation or placement of sand or things like that. I would think we're obligated to at least have numbers when the situation are quite similar, that also, you know, the amount of sand down there is going to be similar to what you would allow somebody else to do. So we had a discussion, I think, earlier about the idea, well, you kind of take each case in and of about itself and not necessarily look at precedents. But this seems to be a contradiction to that.
No, that's actually what we're saying, is you don't need to use precedent in your decision-making. If you have two applications on the same night on the same bay of the same lake asking for the exact same thing, and the lake shore is the same and everything's same, then you probably better be pretty close in your decision. But if it's one night and the next month, or another lake, or a different type of retaining wall, or a different shoreline, precedent isn't something that land use needs to center around.
Yeah, so part of the discussion, and I think I asked a follow-up because I had the same concern, was similarly situated persons should be treated the same. So there's that equal protection.
Yep.
But they had the great phrase, if you're having different decisions for people who are similarly situated, you need to have solidly articulable reasons that support the majority decision. So as long as the commission has a solid reason and justification for making their decision, the presenters felt they would have a much more solid case defending that in the face of legal challenge.
And not to mention, to build off that, it's not just the legal side of it, there's still the public perception side of it. For those applicants, they want to be, view that they're being treated fairly. So I think giving those justifiable reasons why not only helping your legal case helps obviously justify to the applicants.
Yes, that's a good point, and also along with the whole taking, that's more on a board of adjustment too, but there's never is a strong word, right? We learned that there's never been a taking claim for a land use case. Basically meaning no judge has ever said you took this land from someone and now you need to compensate them for it. So again, more of a board of adjustment matter. It all comes down, and we always hear your decision must be reasonable, not arbitrary. What does arbitrary mean? Case law says arbitrary is basically like a coin flip. So as long as you have one good solid reason, and we encourage you to have lots of good solid reasons, and you guys do a really good job, all the courts look for is one. To Jason Crone's point, yes, there's the public perception, there's the fairness, those things are all valid, but from a legal standpoint, that's really what you need to look at. Something that I thought was curious, and I have it on this page, so I'm going to talk about it. It came up tonight in terms of sufficiency of notice. The law was written in 58. And so, and obviously we know the mail system has changed significantly. So we get the notices out right away. That doesn't mean that the cities and the neighbors get the notice right away. The sufficiency of the notice is met. They may not be getting it as soon as they would like. It's 10 days, it's mailed, not received. Those are some key, and it's also assumed delivered if not returned. The takeaway from tonight could be, we have another effort to our cities and townships and say, hey, you guys can all sign up online, And you can get these things within a week of us receiving them as an application. We just had a city township meeting last night, and I guess I wish I would have highlighted that. But we have emails for one email address for every city and every township, and so that could be an effort. Now, the county board could say, well, we're going to change the ordinance and we're going to make cities be noticed a lot sooner. But what my answer is going to be to that is, well, now you're delaying applicants probably another 30 to 45 days. So that's just the reality of how the notice works.
I appreciate that comment, and I asked the question earlier just to make sure that we were properly leading the horse to water. All right, you can't make them drink. I'm not expecting that. Just questioning if we're setting people up for success. So I appreciate it.
So kind of related to that, on page number 5, bullet point 4B, you heard when I opened the hearing, when we're taking public testimony, that should come to us. This is not a cross-examination process. Sometimes we'll have applicants who do it, and then a member of the public is really engaged and invested in the process and starts asking questions of the applicant. So for future chairs, that comes to us, and then if we want to ask the applicant questions, we can be that filter. So it just brings down the question as well. And the reason I changed the process was letter D. We want to make sure that decision makers are open to hearing the facts and making decisions based upon those facts. I know historically when we've had member comments before the public hearing, there's potentially a risk of giving the impression we're prejudging the matter before we hear all the testimony. So this way we hear the public, we give them a chance to speak, and then we don't say anything until such time as we have all the evidence before us. So that was the reason for that change.
Good change. I like it.
And the prejudging is where the attorneys are seeing holes in what local governments are doing. It's in due process. It's not in the decision that's made. It's in what makes the sausage. And so that's one thing just to be very aware of, is that applicants have and will win a due process claim if they can prove that one of the members have prejudged an application before it was heard. So that's kind of the new trend, if you will, in land use case law.
It actually kind of makes the meeting flow better as well, to get it all up front. I kind of liked the change.
I'm just kind of scrolling through my
Mr.
papers.
Chair, I highlighted page 5 as well. In talking about the fairness and in the public hearing, and, you know, making sure that the facts are put out there. And then number C is the fairness in the zoning matters, equal notice and opportunity to be heard. You know, very concerned about that Mary Meadows, in that, you know, we closed the public hearing before we started talking about music. And that became the biggest crux that's been a pain for those people for quite some time, and still is. And so again, the applicant has to get the information out clearly of what they're doing before the public hearing is closed, so that, you know, the public does get their opportunity to make comment on it.
And on number C, we might talk about this later. One thing they encouraged us, and it's sort of coaching the public when they give their testimony, is to make sure they're giving us facts that are supported by evidence. So a lot of times, you know, I remember hearing things in terms of the vacation rentals, where it's like, oh, there's going to be a child molester coming to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Where's that coming from? Yeah. You know, if you can support that, great. But if you're randomly supporting conjecture, we need to be careful taking that under consideration, because we don't have a documented support of that. So just keep that in mind. As we're going to have a couple of other discussions related to the public comment, but I'm going to coach folks to provide that documented, factual supporting information.
Yeah, along with that too, I think it's, as you said, trying to get that out of the applicants, because sometimes they don't, they're intimidated, right? They're nervous. They get up there and they just say, well, they don't they do maybe have information, they just don't know how to share it. And so the chair plays a good role there, kind of like digging in, well, why do you have you experienced that, or where have you read about that? Just kind of digging into that a little bit. I didn't have anything else for a little while, for a few more
Yeah,
pages.
you're good.
So
We're good.
the next time that I looked at for comment was number 12. So we're jumping all the way to conditional use. Actually, no, 11. This is something that we're going to talk about at the end too, in terms of decorum. And one of the recommendations the attorney has was even setting the stage for the public hearing and say, tonight we're here for a feedlot application. Feedlot applications or this is being considered because it's within so many feet of the city or whatever the situation is. But basically say that conditional uses are permitted uses as long as the conditions can be met or the concerns can be mitigated. So kind of setting the stage to say, we're really here just to talk about conditions. We're really here just to come up with mitigating concerns. And in fact, if the Planning Commission doesn't try to work through the concerns through mitigating conditions, you could lose those cases too. So that's why we always kind of push, well, concern, condition, concern, condition. And I think you do a great job at that, but the training reinforced that concept.
Yeah, and in relation to conditions, one thing I talked about that we sometimes do is when there's a condition, we negotiate with the applicant over the conditions. Or we have, what hours do you want to set for operation, for mining operations and stuff, and days of work? I asked, so what kind of agreement does the applicant have to have that? Because they get these packets beforehand too, they see the conditions. And they said it's okay to negotiate conditions in the hearing as long as the applicant agrees to the conditions as changed.
Okay.
So if we have a condition that the board makes the adjustment, we're not judging the application as submitted. So we need to make sure if we're going to make conditions, the applicant is approving the changes.
Mr. Chair. Comment on that. And I've said this before, when an applicant comes here and they're seeking a CUP, it should be based off of their business plan and what they need to make that business go. And too many times, we've had to hammer out part of a business plan for people.
Yep.
And me personally, I feel that we shouldn't be doing that. I mean, when
Rich,
you
I'll
talk about conditions, and then,
Rich, I don't disagree. It's one of the most frustrating things we run into. I also am going to give some grace to the applicants, though, because sometimes you don't even realize a condition is going to be an issue until public testimony, or you kind of get blindsided at the meeting with this. And now it challenges your business plan, because while your business plan may be focused on this to start, every business is going to want to have growth plans, and you hate to be then handcuffed by
right,
what you have to make a split decision on, or split minute, second decision on, and it's hard. When we run into those, I mean, is that, we've used the continue feature, is that something we can kind of continue to flex?
Yes.
So we're not doing it in the meeting as much as possible?
I would highly recommend that. And I mean, Dave Knopfler used to support our Board of Adjustment when he worked for the county, and we weren't going to redesign homes at those meetings.
Right.
When I first started, we tried to do that, and that was madness.
Yeah.
And so I would share for the Planning Commission too, you probably don't remember this one, it was so long ago. Long ago with all of you, it was an application for a CUP in St. Joe Township for rural tourism, and there was lots of questions. They're still not back in front of you, right? If you had tried to hammer that out, we would have gotten it wrong that night. So yes, continuation is key. They can agree. If they don't agree, well, then we have this, 120 days, but we'll stay on top of that. So if something feels not ready, I would highly encourage you to do that.
And we can always vote no. If they don't want to accept a condition we change, we can say we don't do this. And you'll notice sometimes I'm sort of like, I don't tell the applicant, and I don't know. I mean, I don't ever want to prejudge the board vote, but you'll hear during the conversation where it's like, you can detect the tenor of the board. So you may want to do a continuation, hearing what you've heard, because the decision, the board's going to vote the way the board's going to vote. So I try to give them the opportunity not to, yeah.
Say, go ahead.
So how does an applicant, they get denied here, but there could be something changed in their application or their business plan or their proposal that could tip it to being approved. How do they know what that is? Or is there any mechanism to support the property owner or whatever in their project? Do they get any kind of guidance from staff or anybody else about what might make a difference in getting approval? Does that happen?
I think it happens at your meeting, for one, because they're listening
But I'm hearing it shouldn't. maybe.
Well, no, so I mean, so again, when we're making a decision, we want to make sure we have findings of fact that support those decisions. So if we determine that based upon the conditions as provided by the law, so let's say somebody wanted to have a mining quarry strip club heavy metal bar that went 24 hours a day, every day. Weird thing, I know. That's my entertainment, so we'll leave that on the table. But if they want to do that, and we can sit there and say, it doesn't meet the intent of the land use, it's going to be conflicting, if we can provide them the reasons for the denial, we would vote, well, they would vote no, and then they can always reapply and say, we have changed our conditions based upon the and then if they, and again, you never know what's going to happen in court until it happens in court. But in that second finding, if we do the arbitrary and capricious thing and say no again, the attorneys might say, they addressed your concerns and you still said no, what's happening here?
Okay.
So that's why we need to sort of make our decisions.
So how, and again, this is maybe my inexperience here, how soon after denial can they reapply?
I think the ordinance says they need to wait 6 months.
6 months?
Or a year. I'd have to look, unless something changes. So if something with the application changes, it could be a slight change. We actually have one for a variance coming up. They're making the sign 20 square feet smaller than it was when they came the first time. So the other thing I would say, Dave, is to your point of how do they know what to come back with? I've actually sat and watched meetings with applicants, like watched a planning commission meeting or watched a board of adjustment meeting with an applicant in our office and kind of like dissected the meeting with them and say, okay, well, what they said these things that really, this is what I would focus your application on or your change. We help them to the extent that we can with full disclosure that we can give them all the ideas and advice, but we can't guarantee it's going to get approved the next time.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate you doing that.
So you'll sort of notice today.
What is it, 12 months? Okay, 12 months for reapplication.
So on the first applicant, when we were talking about the way it supported the plan, no one spoke in favor of the comments supporting the plan when Dave was like, oh, and not a criticism. You did a really good job saying this is why it's not supported by the plan. And I was like, if we don't get something in favor of the plan, that means the votes in favor are voting on nothing. They haven't said why they're voting.
I think the one that was checked did support it. I was just trying to say that I felt there was one that.
Right,
didn't.
yeah.
So unfortunately, maybe, I don't know, maybe somebody should have said,
No, and then
item 2 was.
So you had
did.
yours, and then Jason had the alternative side. So it allowed it gave us the founding upon which to say, here's why we're in favor of it.
Okay.
So that was sort of why I kind of fished for.
Yeah, we've done that multiple times.
Yep, yep. So,
Comes up a lot in Board of Adjustments.
Mr. Chair, I just want to comment on page 11 where we're talking about it. It talks about the conditions and the conditions to being adverse to the abutting properties. In B, 1B, it talks about, pollution issues, smell, population density, noise, and effects to the adjoining land values. And then also considerations for involving public health, safety, and general welfare. So, I mean, oftentimes you may have an entrepreneur that's got a good idea, but how does that necessarily affect the properties that are existing there when you bring it in? So, somebody wants to bring in a little amusement park and, run rides till midnight. Well, that might be fine if it's out in the country or in a space like that, but you bring it into an abutting neighborhood, that's not necessarily good. Likewise, a chicken barn. If a chicken barn's there and a developer wants to put a development there, well, okay, the people know that chicken barn's there, and they're going to smell that, see that when they buy. But when you've got a chicken barn that comes in and just meets the setback of an existing neighborhood, then you've got problems.
back to you, Angie.
Moving on, I don't have any other notes until page 14, which is a quick comment on moratoriums. The interesting part that I learned, and maybe we knew this along the way, but moratoriums can actually apply to existing applications. Food for thought.
What was the last part?
So moratoriums, sometimes the county has considered moratoriums over the years for short-term rentals, solar, wind turbines. And so we've always ran with the concept that moratoriums are only applied to new applications. So those that are in the door and submitted can go on. I learned, and maybe we did know this, but that the county board could choose to enact a moratorium that does apply to existing applications. So.
Mr. Chair, Angie, I've got one for you on the page 12 amendment.
I had a question on that one first, though.
Oh.
That means applications, not projects that have already been approved, though,
Correct.
right? Yes.
Yes, thank you for that. Yep.
Page 12, amending the conditional use permit. The same procedure should be used for an amendment to the conditional use permit as it is used from initially granting of such a permit. In other words, notice to the general public, written notice to landowners, and the general conduct of hearing. So if they want to change their operating hours, would they have to come back and actually have because that would be a significant
Correct.
change, would it not?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so when you change the conditions, you have to come back and ask
Yes,
for,
it's an amendment.
okay.
And you've seen that for mining a lot, and you're going to see that for mining coming up based on some things that we've seen. I'm just skipping along, so Jason, you got to stop me if there was something.
It was a 6-hour session. so
I know,
there's-
right?
We can give you the session again, but there's a lot of stuff in here.
I don't have one till page 21. And that is relating to the Planning Commission, number 3, B, number 2. Collect pertinent data of permit application, proposed changes and additions to official controls. Okay, so that you actually have that documented, or you have that data, that it's actually specific. So they're talking about their numbers, their hours, that they're telling you specifically what they want to do.
Mr. Chair, I don't know that I had anything else in the packet itself.
So number 4A.
Okay.
On page 27. We control our hearing. So with staff, we control the hearing. So we are going to slightly modify the process by which people provide testimony. And Angie can talk about that down the road shortly.
Is there any other, are there any other questions or clarifications, comments on the document?
I do have just a couple. I'll just highlight them. Page 27, number 3. Under state and federal law, the right of due process means the right of notice and the opportunity to be heard. Okay? And with that, I'm just wondering, is there some of our permittings that we should maybe extend? For example, like a gravel pit, does it go beyond a quarter mile? And Angie, I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah, we've talked
Yeah.
about it a lot, I think, ever since you came onto the county board. And I know back during COVID, when we had those work sessions online, it was a result of we had comp plan, then we had all those work sessions online. That was specifically talked about, and at that time, the county board said leave it as it is. So we, environmental services, will notice whoever you tell us to notice, knowing that at some point costs are going to start to go up for the permits, just because we'll have to notice more people. I would say that shouldn't be a deterrent if that's really your desire.
Well, what I see is, okay, so you're at a quarter mile. So what happens if you're, 100 yards beyond that and you've got a housing development? You're kind of splitting hairs by, shouldn't these people know that there's a major something coming into their neighborhood that might have an adverse effect, at least that they should be able to voice their opinion?
So plats and rezonings are a half mile. Conditional use permits, interim use permits are a quarter.
Yeah. But when the conditional use permit comes close to a development, see what I'm saying?
Oh, I see, the
Yeah,
opposite,
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And then also, people who ask to be notified
Right.
are included on the list.
Mhm.
So if somebody wants, you can ask to be notified of every decision we make.
Page 20, item 4, general principles, A, B, and C. I thought that C was interesting. City, town, or county can require that a joint planning board be established to regulate the use of land within a 2-mile radius of the corporate limits of a city. Would that not resolve what we dealt with this evening?
Well, to the extent that I don't want this discussion that starts right now to affect what happened tonight or what the board could happen, because that public hearing's closed. I would say all these general principles apply to that plat tonight.
Yeah.
Including
And-
the city has some rights too.
Correct.
Yes.
I'm just, when I read this, I thought, oh,
Yeah.
I wonder, like, does the town board know this?
They do.
Does the
It's-
city?
They all know all the things.
Yeah, do they?
It's called extraterritorial control, and the law allows them to do it. It's usually, in that case, it's a hostile annexation, and yeah, I won't comment a lot on that other application, but yes, the township definitely knows that that can happen. The city knows that they can do it, and that's all I'm gonna say,
Well,
so.
I was trying. The fact is, if you have property just on the edge of city limits, you are in an impact zone.
Right.
There's just no way of getting around that. But people have a very difficult time, and I'm one of them, accepting that.
And we do have multiple, I think there's 4 or 6 or something, orderly annexation areas in the county. Sometimes we call them disorderly.
Yeah.
But they're for good, they're trying, right? They're planning for the
Right.
future. And so, yes, that is an option. They can do it. To my knowledge, Stearns County has never made anybody do it, if you will. We stay out of it, and it's a city township thing, so. I didn't mean to rush us on the pages, but
I just have a couple more.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Page 28 talks about, at the hearing, allow the applicant to inspect documents, present evidence, and fully present the case. Is that, they should have full disclosure about what they're trying to actually accomplish. Yeah.
I tell that to a lot of Board of Adjustment applicants. The burden is on them to show why they should be getting what they're asking for. The same applies to Planning Commission. So I think applicants often undersell themselves when they come to you. Again, it could be because they think you already have it all because you have so much paper. It may be because they're nervous. It may be because they don't know what else to say. But yes, I agree with you.
And then the last one I have, Angie, is on page 30, and that is number 9. If there's not an adequate record on review, the burden is on the municipality to prove that it acted in a reasonable manner. Is that why we need the documentation, the findings of fact, and so that, again, it's not capricious?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, you only need one solid finding. That's what the courts are going to look at. And it's a record review. It's not what does the judge think that they would have done. It's did you establish, yes, did you follow the process? Did you have any errors in your due process? And did you have at least one solid reason that was factual and reasonable? That's what they're looking at. Anything else in the packet? Otherwise, go ahead, Jason.
I just appreciate the packet, and thanks for going. This was an interesting read.
Well, we're going to touch on that, I think, too, Jason Wienerman, Mr. Chair. You want me to run through this a little bit? Okay, so one of the things that, so Jason Wienerman and I met after this and came up with some slight adjustments. So we are going to be creating a job description for the chair of the Planning Commission. One of those things is going to be talking about non-voting. You know, don't vote if you're going to create a tie. We know that there is a way to work with that, but it's not a great way. And then it makes applicants feel like they really didn't get a great decision. So that's going to be one thing we're going to consider. Setting time limits, non-redundancy of testimony. As Jason said earlier, stating facts, being objective. Ask applicants who are opposed to something, what mitigation would they recommend? What would mitigate their concern? Ask the public testimony that. Those are like specific things that we would want to help the chair do during the meeting. I need to work on that, and I haven't done that yet. That's on me. Modify the order of the public hearing. Jason, Mr. Chair, did that tonight. And I think the reason was so that all members can hear everything from everybody before you start having your internal dialogue.
Angie, you're talking about the chair not voting. When we have a quorum of 4, okay, that means if he doesn't vote, then a majority of 2 to 1 actually passes.
Yeah.
Does that become legitimate?
Legally, yes, it is.
Legally, it does. But the reality could be is if all 7 members were here, it could be defeated 5-2.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so even since we're not a deciding body, the fact that it would be split 2-2 would be maybe a better option to send to the board as far as where the stance or position of it is.
I don't know, I think a quorum is established when a quorum's established.
Yeah, but actually then if he withdraws from voting, then you don't have even a quorum voting because there's only 3 people voting.
But you have a quorum for the meeting, which is all you need.
Correct. But does the 2-1 decision reflect an opinion?
It may not, but I think that then that might need more review at the county board level.
But what if he felt strongly that it should go the other way, to the 1?
I mean, the quorum, if the board has a quorum, that is reflecting the position of the board.
Correct.
According to our bylaws, a quorum is a voting body. If you are strongly committed one way or the other, show up.
Exactly.
You know?
That's why the rules are established.
I mean, as we saw today, I don't vote. The only reason I'm going to vote as the chair is to break a tie. So, but that's a personal decision I've made, so.
We've had, again, more at the Board of Adjustment, we've had applicants wait until another month until there was a full board. That's their option. That's an option here too, if it gets down to that, so.
I like the idea. I told Jason, the job description, best practices as a chairperson, speaking as a past chairperson, which didn't really have that. You're just trying to go based on what you've observed, right? And then what you're supposed to do. So having some general principles and guidelines to follow is really, really good for future chair folks.
I'm almost done. Rules of decorum, this would be for the public. We are going to put together kind of some rules of decorum. What we learned is people don't know how to act at a public meeting if you don't tell them how to act, because they oftentimes haven't been to one before. So it's going to be really well-written, and it's going to maybe hang behind you all, and then maybe we'll have another one over here. Speak directly into the microphone. All comments be directed to the chair. We have to come up with what that's going to be yet, but we'll talk about that. The other thing that I did not have ready for tonight that would have been a nice thing for tonight is have speaker cards. So the concept, again, is just to help run a more order, not saying you run a disorderly meeting, but just to keep a meeting flowing. Even tonight with the application on the plat, having kind of people queued up, right? So they're not like looking, well, who's gonna go next? And so to have a speaker card. So if you wanna speak, you're gonna take a card when you walk in, you're gonna put your name on it, you're gonna say what you're for, what you're here for. And then like whoever's here, so Shelley or I, typically, or Becky, will go collect it right before the hearing, and then we'll give them to the chair. The chair will say, Jim Hemish, John Doe, Jason Crone, kind of queued up. And then as you did tonight, you can also limit the speaker to a number of minutes. And staff can help time if you want that.
But, Mr. Chair, Angie, at the city level, we used to have sign up, okay? So that if you wanted to speak, you had to sign up. And so you could have the items and actually have people sign up. And then once that has been exhausted, then you say, is there anybody else that wants to speak? I mean, I don't know if does that help us, or does that work?
We can see how it plays out.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone sits, if they're here for 2 hours and their item comes up and they didn't get a card, and something that someone else said makes them spur a comment or a concept, I don't want them not to come forward because they didn't take a card. This is the hearing, so
No,
we have to make sure.
absolutely, because also in the presentation, they may hear something that they weren't aware of.
Right.
That it's going to hit a nerve on them, and they would like to have the opportunity to speak on that.
I would say just because they don't take a card doesn't mean that they don't get to talk.
Yeah, okay.
It's an attempt, and we'll see how it goes, right?
Yeah. Like it.
Let's see.
That was out of bounds, asking the mayor to come back up and.
Nope, that's within our purview.
For sure. The biggest thing is just to get him in front of the mic.
So we did have a question on, does the proposal conform to the comprehensive plan of the county? I know the staff does a really good job of putting X's next to the lists. As you're thinking about that, if you can go a level deeper than what's written on that findings of fact. So for instance, we'll use the one that I do not like, which is it increases the diversity of housing in the county, wherever that one is. If you can explain why it does it, that indicates that we are actually doing our due diligence rather than just reading off a form. So if we can defend why or why not.
And you already have it in your head. You just need to say it, really.
You're just looking for the right one, so justify the reason why.
Exactly. I think,
And And we did have one change, I don't know if you noticed. One thing that Angie and I were struggling with, it used to say, how does this applicant ensure the applicant will comply with the ordinance? Or has complied? And these are things in the future. So the tense of the verb was like, this is what they're gonna do in the future. So we did change the word to how are they complying to how will they comply. So that was a little bit of a change to say, if they follow conditions, they're applying, they're meeting their standards.
I think that does make a lot more sense and easier to answer the findings of fact, because you're like, I don't know how they're gonna comply. Hopefully they follow what they said they were gonna do. I don't know.
Yep, yep.
I did not have anything else, Jason, unless,
No, this, we did talk maybe, every year kind of do a refresher on this.
Yep.
For new folks and, so like February, March-ish, when the new season rolls around, just take an hour and run through these again, just to remind us. And provide the attorney the support they need for when we enjoy the court.
Do they offer some online options for those, or are those all just in-person workshops?
so far in person, the attorneys that work for the trust, I would say, are more in-person kind of people.
Okay,
I'm not gonna say any more than that. I hear you though, and then I should actually push that a little bit, because there's other counties that have thought the same thing for training.
I think it would be nice. It's when the trainings are during construction season, it's really hard to take off of work and spend a whole day in Staples.
So we had like 80 people there.
Yeah.
And while this stuff is really, really useful, the dialogue was hearing people talk about their issues and having the opportunity to bring up ours was very useful in the end. They liked that. They're like, don't make us sit here and talk to you for 6 hours. We can do it, and you'll hate us, but, so.
I do appreciate in-person workshops very much. It's just
They're hard to get
an
to.
option anyway.
Jason and Angie, I mean, the workshop, obviously opens up the eyes to many folks. Is that something maybe we would actually recommend, like a new person coming onto the board? And then also maybe even recommend it that a new board member attend one of them as well, as a council or a commissioner as well, just so that they have an idea what they're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Huge.
And I don't know if you all remember this, but maybe it's 2-3 years ago, we actually had attorneys. We hired these attorneys.
Yeah.
Remember that? Did you like that?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
an
I
evening
thought it was
session.
useful.
Dinner thing
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
like lunches
Yeah.
and, okay. Jason and I talked about doing that again, maybe in the winter, it's cold, it's dark, right?
Yeah, times when you don't have anything else to do. It'd be great.
The second, and then promise the last thing I was gonna say to future things, the other thing that we're sort of loosely talking about is having a bus tour to look at different sites, so like mining, rural tourism, maybe a recent plat, a solar garden, feedlot. We talked about Red Head Creamery, they have all the things, their alcohol manufacturing, their feedlot, their rural tourism, and just kind of getting you guys out on site together to look at some of these things that you've permitted over the years. So that's all I have as an idea, but we'll keep you, it probably won't be till fall or spring, to be honest with you, because our construction season, we're trying to manage people's projects, and this would, kind of doing a fun thing is good, but we have to have time, so.
All right, I hear you folks getting antsy.
Yep.
We're at halftime of the Wolves.
It's actually
So-
first quarter, we're down. They need me cheering.
All right, so
Taking a
quick,
motion to adjourn?
well, minutes? Approval of minutes.
I'm abstaining.
Take a motion to approve the,
All right, motion and second. All in favor?
aye.
Adjournment. Chair prerogative, motion adjourned.
Perfect.
Are you going to vote on the adjournment?
Chair prerogative, so I did it by